What's up, man? It's your big brother K-Rino. Glad to be back with y'all. Feel like it's been a while, but once again, we back on our late night. We're back on our Friday night, late night, and it's what we do. I have my moments where I get on early, but back on our regular time, regular schedule, man. Didn't mean to come on this late though. Glad to have y'all with me. Um, we're gonna get right into the topic. I don't plan on taking a long time with this, but I definitely want to touch on this. Definitely want to get it in. As y'all come into the chat, please do your big brother favor and just hit the like button. That's a little thumbs up that y'all see. Just hit that. Just click that as you come in, and we get some balance in here. Click that like button for your big brother as y'all walk into the door, man. As y'all see by the title, my topic is why me personally, will never trust this system. This is not a system that has been kind to black people and brown people and poor people and the darker people of this nation. And there are countless historical pieces of history that have shown the disparities in how sentencing takes place as it relates to black folks and as it compared to white folks and black folks and things of that nature, and how we can absolutely prove that this system was set up to incarcerate and to really destroy the lives of darker people. Like I said, there are countless examples, but I'll go into a few of them. We have to not make the mistake of feeling as though we have been granted, since we've been granted citizenship in this country, that citizenship that was granted to us, that had to be basically just ripped from their clutches. We can't make the mistake of thinking that citizenship also granted us equality. We can't think that it also granted us justice, because it did not. When you have to fight and claw and scratch and beg and sit in and stand in and march and protest and rally and all these different things that you had to do in order just to receive citizenship, then that tells you right there that the people who you had to scratch and claw to get that from, they never wanted to give it to you in the first place. It was something that you shouldn't have to fight that hard for something that should be naturally, innately for you. Shouldn't have to fight, scratch and claw for that. It should be automatic, especially when you look at the fact that this country was built on the backs of our people. This country was built by the hands of our people. And during that centuries-long stretch, there was no compensation. And even to this day, any talks of compensation in the form of reparations get shot down so fast that they will immediately let you know. Even the ones who have fooled black people into believing that they are so good, that they are so for us. Joe Biden being one of them, Hillary Clinton being one of them, Bill Clinton being one of them, Bernie Sanders being one of them. I'm just naming people off the top of my dome who have addressed the topic of reparations and straight up said, whoa, Nope. I'm not gonna do that. I will act like this is them. They will act like they want to help black people. They will act like they want to do for black people when they get in office. That they're gonna work hard. They will act like that. They have mastered the skill of pretending that they're going to do right by black people and by Latino people and poor people when they get in office, but they understand that that's a scam that we fall for every time. And they understand that they could always pit the other party. They could use the other party in order to say, well, this is what they do. This is what they do in order to make us go, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's vote for him. Just like the other party does, vice versa. So it's always been this thing about what are we going to do, what we'll do for black people, what we'll do for black people until they get into office or till the conversation of reparations comes up. And they will clearly state, no, 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 there's no need for reparations. Let's not get hasty. Let's not get hasty. We don't want to give these people any compensation, but yet history has proven that they have compensated other nations. They've given other nations reparations, and they've even given reparations within America. But guess who got reparations? It was not the descendants of the slaves who got reparations. It was the slave owners shortly after the Emancipation Proclamation and losing their free labor. They were given reparations from the government for losing their slaves. Now, what kind of system is that? That will say, well, since y'all don't have the right to force these people to do free labor from sun up to sundown and just beat and whip and rape, and since y'all can't do that no more, and I know it's a strain on y'all to lose these slaves, to lose this free labor. I know it's a strain on you. I know it's been tough. We're gonna compensate you for the loss of your slaves. Meanwhile, the slaves running blindly along, wandering along, trying to figure out how they were going to survive. After this emancipation, many of them came back to the plantation and worked for very, very small wages. This is how dirty America is. So then you take into account laws that were passed or a system of laws that was created called Jim Crow. Jim Crow laws, a system of laws that were created to intentionally, this is for all those black people and all those people in general who like to say, well, man, racism is a myth, because they follow behind the talking points of devils, and they follow behind the talking points of other ignorant Negroes who follow behind the talking points of the devil, and they'll say, well, slavery doesn't exist. All you got to do is just go into the Jim Crow laws and look at all of the laws and the bills that were passed that were specifically geared towards preventing black people from any types of advancement. This is racism, because it is a system that is owned and operated and controlled by a certain people, and they are utilizing the absolute power to maintain control and to block out, to box out another group of people. I don't know what other name you can give that when you specify that group of people that you want to keep out. So a lot falls under the umbrella of Jim Crow. But to bring it up to this day and time, we've seen too many examples. And what made me do this topic was more so just thinking about the trial that's coming up with the murderers, the McMichael family, the daddy and the son and the neighbor who killed Ahmaud Arbery. Just murdered him in cold blood for no reason other than the fact that he was a black man jogging through a neighborhood. That's why Ahmaud Arbery was killed. Didn't have anything to do with suspicion, and it was just a reason that these racists were riding through the neighborhood, and like many of them do, feel that they have the right to just police any situation they want to police, even if they're not the actual police. That's why you see all these Karens out here, and you see all these different cats out here that decide that they're going to be the ones to approach black people and say, hey, who are you? Why are you in this building? Do you live around here? Show me some ID. These regular citizens walking up on black people, questioning and asking these kind of questions. And again, it's racist. It's racist when the police do it in certain situations. In certain situations. But for a regular citizen to feel that they have the authority over any black person, where they can just walk up on you and say, hey, let me see your ID. Who do you know around here? Who do you see? That's a mindset. That's a mindset that you have to take into account when you see these things happening. And we can't be dismissive of it because somebody would tell you, well, you're race baiting. You're trying to play the race card. You're race baiting. Man, look, that don't work on me. I'm going to call it for what I see. So you can't play that card with me, and I'm different. I'm not a celebrity. You can't throw that at me and make me go, oh, they think I'm going to back off. No, I'm going to double down. But when they come at you with that kind of authority in their voice, that speaks to the internal nature, the racism that they have in them, to feel like it doesn't matter who you are, because I'm me, you have to answer to me. That's a mindset. It's a mindset. Then when you stand strong against them, they flip it around and play victim. They turn it around and, well, I'm going to call the police. Oh, I'm going to. Then they get on the phone and start lying to the police when they approach you. See? This is racism. This is white supremacy. It's a mindset. So part of the thing that powers that mindset, one of the things that fuels that mindset, is the very thing that this topic is about. Knowing that the system is going to favor them if it comes down to my word against yours. If it comes down to a situation where the police are standing there talking to both of us, they have a strong belief and a well justified belief. They got a reason to believe. They believe that if it comes down to it, I can flaunt my whiteness, and that's going to make the system believe me. See? So Ahmaud Arbery's, well, not Ahmaud Arbery's trial, the McMichael clan with a K, the McMichael clan's trial is coming up, and the jurors were selected, and there were 11 white jurors and 1 black juror in this case. 3 white dudes killing a black brother. 11 white jurors, 1 black. Very, 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 very significant, very important. What is the first thing that goes through black folks' mind when they look and see that there's going to be 11 white jurors and one black jury in the case of 3 white dudes killing a black man. What do you think goes through our mind when we see this? First thing we think about, oh, well, they're going to get off. But some people will say, oh, well, no, you got to let the system, you got to let the process play itself out. This ain't about race. They vet those potential jurors. They talk to them. They figure out where their heads are at, and then they whittle them down to the 12 that they feel are most mentally qualified to be a part of this case, to be jurors on this case. That's what it's all about. Look, the county where this trial is going to take place is 69% white. So you can look at it and say, well, you know, the population dictates that. But there were a lot of potential black jurors that were reviewed and interviewed prior to the final 12 being selected. And not coincidentally, all those black jurors got struck down. So they would rather deal with the backlash or deal with the cloud of speculation that, man, it's going to be something crazy that goes down with these 11 white jurors and this one black juror. They'd rather deal with that than put a bunch of black people on that jury. Because they always playing the game to set that alley-oop. And the alley-oop in these cases are the setup to either let these guys off, to find them not guilty and let them off, or if they are sentenced, the sentence is lightweight. The sentence is lightweight. And people will say, well, oh man, well, Derek Chauvin got 20 years. That's a long time. No, that's a lightweight sentence. Because once you break down all of the potential means of how he could possibly get out and all the details that are involved in that sentence, you'll look at it and you'll understand, well, you know what? Potentially this dude could be out in half that, or maybe a little less. Same with Amber Geiger, the police officer who killed Botham Jean. She got 10 years. 10 years itself is a slap on the wrist based on the details of how that murder went down. Just 10 years. She appealing to 10. She like, I shouldn't get to 10. So this is what we deal with. This is how it's laid out. This is how it's structured. So when you see 11 white jurors, naturally, historically, we think, okay, they're going to let them off. Then we'll be fooled and say, well, you know, man, well, no, they didn't let them off. See, KU was wrong. They gave each one of them 15 years. That's still lightweight. That's still slap on the wrist. Because again, they'll figure out a way where they won't have to do the whole 15. And even for the sake of argument, let's say they do the whole 15. It's not a long time. You still have time to get out. I don't care if you're 30. I don't know how old the son was. But if he did a whole 15 and he comes home at 45 years old, you're still a young man at 45. You still got a lot of life that you can live at 45. But there are black men in prison still to this day behind selling crack. selling other drugs, selling drugs, not killing nobody, that got 30 and 40, 50, in some cases, life sentences. So there's a disparity, there's a hypocrisy in how this system is run and how this system is operated. George Zimmerman is living his best life. George Zimmerman living his best life since murdering since stalking and murdering Trayvon Martin way back in 2012, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody got the date, the year on that, I think it was in 2012. So he's coming up on 10 years free. Has never done an ounce of jail time behind stalking, intentionally stalking and murdering Trayvon Martin. He invoked the Florida stand your ground law when there was no ground for him to be standing in the first place. He sought out a young black man that was walking from the store, started to harass this man, called 911, was instructed by 911 to leave the man alone, let him go. We shouldn't have called on him in the first place. He disregarded that instruction from 911, confronted Trayvon Martin, got beat up by Trayvon Martin, and shot him and killed him. What ground are you standing? But when your mama is a court clerk and your daddy is a judge, you're going home. You're in a pretty good position. And since that time, he's done nothing but make mockery of the death of Trayvon Martin. He's gotten bolder and bolder over the years. He's made mockery about, he has no remorse, no type of negative feelings about what he did. He's proud of what he did. And he's proud of the fact that he was able to literally get away with murder. Same with Mike Brown. So K-Rino, why are you mentioning these old cases? And because we got to understand the pattern. And these are not old cases. They're recent. Anything under that 10-year, that's recent. I can make the claim that Rodney King is recent. Say, well, man, that was 30 years ago. If it's in my lifetime, in my generation, where I vividly remember that, and the reason why, again, I will mention that is because it's part of a pattern. Rodney King took place long before social media, long before phones recording everything. Like, it took place long before that. And to watch them beat Rodney King, that still sits in my mind to this day. But we've seen so much since then, and that and a whole nother generation has been born. Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown weren't even born when they beat Rodney King. But to watch them beat him like that, repeatedly beat a man who was down, out of there, no threat at all, and then to watch this system declare those officers to be not guilty. How can you trust a system like that? They're telling you that you didn't see what you saw with your own eyes. Not guilty. Darren Wilson, not guilty. George Zimmerman, not guilty. Can't trust this system, man. Can't trust it. See what y'all talking about, man. A-Dub says, if Rittenhouse gets off, he's going to be the same way. And see, I usually let whatever happens in the house, in their house, I usually let whatever happened in y'all house, that's y'all house. No concern of mine. But there's a principle in that when you mention Kyle Rittenhouse, because we watched him act like we watched him do everything. This man, if he does get off, might want to go to he might not need to go, he might need to go to Hollywood. He don't have to go to acting school because they coached him well, in my opinion. They coached him well to say, man, when you get on that stand, you better become a little boy again. You better become a little boy. If you gotta cry, if you gotta become a little boy. But he wasn't a little boy when his mama drove him down there with a loaded weapon. He wasn't a little boy then. So yeah, that's a hypocrisy that's set up. They dribbling, they setting you up for it. Hezo, they setting you up for it because there's a hypocrisy that may manifest itself if he gets off, even though he killed some white folks. Let's see what you got. Trey was supposed to be a leader. They know who they killing. The beautiful thing about humans is our uniqueness. Different colors, races, foods, customs, languages. You want us to be all alike. I guess I didn't read the comment you're responding to. Surfing friend. So I don't know what the context. But the points that I'm making, because in this country, we can go all the way back to Emmett Till. 1955. Emmett Till visiting relatives from out of town, accused of whistling or disrespecting a white woman, which he did not do, was snatched up by a Klan and murdered. Face disfigured. You can go online right now and pull up images of Emmett Till's face after he was murdered, before and after. And his mother did one of the bravest things and one of the hardest things that I know it had to be for a mother to do, and that was to have an open casket funeral for her son Emmett Till, because she wanted to show the world what those racists did to her child. So if you are not familiar with the Emmett Till case, just go online and just Google Emmett Till before and after, and you'll see what they did to this 14-year-old child's face. And did not go to prison for it. The judge was in on it. The lawyers, of course, they were defending the individuals who did it. And later on, the white lady who lied on Emmett Till, years and years later, recent years, before she died, she confessed. Because I guess in her mind, she felt like, I want to get my soul right. So I'm going to live my best life for all these decades after I told this lie that got this young boy killed. Now that she's about to die, at least at that time, she was getting ready to check out. Now I will confess and say that never happened. A lot of good that does Emmett Till now. A lot of good it does his mother. Same thing happened in Black Wall Street. All they need to do is concoct one lie or take one lie, make up one lie and run with it. That will justify in their mind killing and falsely convicting black people. Easy for them to do. They don't need much. They don't need much. See? So people ask me why I don't trust the system. '74 Red MC said, millions of white folks are against the system. We understand the wrongdoings of our ancestors and our criminal government. That's good. I'm glad. But understanding it is one thing and acknowledging it is one thing. But you said millions. So what are those millions doing as a collective to change the system that was created by their brothers? It's one thing to look and say, man, oh, I showed this wrong. How they doing them over there? That's just not right. Well, I'll see y'all later. So we saying millions acknowledge. It's like police brutality. And you got cops coming out and saying, well, yeah, there are some cops that are doing. Okay, well, what are you doing? What levels of accountability are you holding them to? Because those millions, they still will benefit from the system, whether they like it or disagree with the system or not. They will still benefit from it under the right circumstances. So it's bigger than just acknowledging it. We appreciate the acknowledgement, no disrespect. But too many of us are behind bars or under the ground, falsely accused, super overblown jail sentences for doing some of the same crimes that white folks have done, or less. It's an obvious and clear hypocrisy. Obvious and clear. So part of my point, urging black folks, I seen my homie Drastico in the chat, is to urge us to stop expecting the best from something that was designed for the worst, for you. Now here we go saying, well, during the civil rights movement, our ancestors fought to combat these very things, these very laws, and give us a level of equality. And so now we can actually be considered, or we can actually claim to be citizens rightfully, because we've earned that position and we've earned the right to be included. That's on paper. I can't sugarcoat that, man. That's just on paper, man. Because again, if you have to fight for something that's naturally yours anyway, when you talk about freedom, justice, and equality, these are God-given rights, not man Man does not have the, I don't want to say the power and authority, because they have imposed their will in such a dirty way that they have strong-armed power and authority to be able to delegate who they give freedom, justice, and equality to. So in that regard, yeah, but on the highest level, they don't have the right to do that. That's something God gave you. But if you get caught up in that sheet of paper, or if you get caught up in a constitution that was written and put together in the 1700s, but you can't ask yourself, well, what were we doing in the 1700s? What was our position in society in the 1700s in America? Well, we know what our position was. We was in that field. We was picking that cotton. We was doing that work. We were being denied basic human rights, those same God-given rights. See? So all of us modern day Negroes who feel like, oh, that was way back then. You guys are still complaining, and no, it's not complaining. It's explaining. It's bringing to the attention the understanding that it's a smoke screen. That paper, the Constitution, the Civil Rights Act, and shout out to all of our ancestors who fought that fight. Don't never get it twisted. Don't get my words twisted to think that I'm being disrespectful to this. But no, I ain't stupid like that. I was taught better than that. Nothing but respect to our ancestors who fought that fight, because there are a lot of things that they fought for that allowed all of us to be doing what we do. So we're not stupid. I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. I might be dumb, but I ain't stupid. But what I'm saying is that I better not say that. Shout out to Cowboy Praxis. Appreciate the donation, my brother. You always showing your big brother some love. Brother, can you describe a method that the black man can obtain self-knowledge without using any religious principles? I know it may sound strange. Well, I mean, I get posed that question a lot in that similar fashion, bro. And the part that I think that people, when they ask me that question, the part that I think they don't really grasp, it's like we always want to try to separate the religious principles from the solution to the problem. And what I can say is this: while I understand why a lot of people are dissatisfied with religion and dissatisfied with organized religion, dissatisfied with the man-made, the man remixed versions of religion, I understand how you can be dissatisfied and want to separate yourself from that. But we have to understand who's the author of those remixes. It's the same Satan that we're talking about who constructed this system. So what we have to do, we have to understand how to differentiate from the man-made, tampered with, distorted aspects of certain religions, differentiate from the pure principles that are in the purest form of religion and practice, if I'm making any sense. Because at the root, you have pure, righteous, effective principles that can be utilized to obtain that self-knowledge. See, the term self-knowledge, knowledge of self, that's coined by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Just gotta call it for what it is. We never used the term knowledge of self until Master Farad Muhammad taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So you're talking about obtaining self-knowledge. Study the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See? Because even if you don't want to say, well, I don't want to subscribe to religion. It's not about subscribing to religion. It's about subscribing to the principle. So if you know the origin of who you are, okay, well, the black man is the original man. The black man originated. The black man is the first people on the planet. We are descendants from the black God. That's the first step of understanding who you are, to know where you come from, to know that you are created in the image and the likeness of that creator. Then that gives you a better understanding of your brother and your sister. Oh man, well he and she is descended from that creator just like I am. So as is taught by Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when you look at your brother or your sister, you're looking at God. Then it's another scripture that says, how can I love God whom I've never seen, but hate my brothers and sisters who I see every day? So take the principles of good. It doesn't matter what umbrella that it may fall on or that it may be presented under. Is it of good? That's the question we got to ask. We know that the scripture's been tampered with. We know they've been changed stuff up. We know they done lied and put lies and falsehoods in the books. We know that. But we know it's a lot of truth still left in the books. But that's the beauty of Elijah Muhammad. Because he sorted it out. Okay, this is false over here. Let's put up, this is truth over here. We're gonna keep, okay, nope, throw that out. That's a lie. Okay, no, they added that. Okay, this is good. We can keep. We got to operate on principles. Hope I answered your question. I know I can get long-winded sometimes. The people in power have abused it, and even the Constitution states it should be overthrown when there is a long train of abuses, so that's not being caught in a piece of paper. Well, I agree with what you're saying, but we have to understand, Malcolm, that there are people who are, I hate to use this word, they're delusional behind the piece of paper, because that's why I alluded to or mentioned or asked the question, what were we doing as black people when that Constitution was crafted? It wasn't written to involve us, to include us. So when we try to stand on it and claim it, it's just like when a black person is being harassed by police officers and we start spewing out what we'll say, I know my rights. Well, according to the blah, 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 you can't blah, 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 blah. You're not allowed to, am I being detained? I don't have to show you my ID according to blah, blah, blah. We start running down all of the things that we've learned that will say, okay, I know my rights, to be able to say I know my rights. But they've proven over and over again that it don't matter what rights you think you know. When they decide to do whatever it is they're going to do to you, they'll do it. Whether you allow them to do it or whether you resist and fight to the end. So your rights, you have memorized information, but that information does not guarantee you to come out on the winning end. That's all I'm saying. You're absolutely right. The people in power have abused it. It's in their nature to do. But some of us are caught up in that because we will say that's why we caught up in that's why we're political party slaves. We political party hoes. That's why. Because we still delusional to feel like we are a part of, like this, we're exercising our right to participate in this process and to affect change in this country. What change have we affected through voting for presidents? And don't point at no little lightweight little victories here and there. So you stole a ball from Steph Curry. You ripped Steph Curry and I ripped Steph Curry. I got a steal in a 48-minute game, but at the end of the game, Steph had 60 on you. But I ripped him. I stole the ball from him that one time. That's what I'm saying. That's my point. We celebrate little victories. We celebrate and rejoice in little victories. But my contention, and this might get me in some trouble, well, my contention is most of the time we fighting a fight. We wasting time fighting a fight we shouldn't even be fighting. If we put that energy and concentration into building our own nation that we put into trying to participate and force our way for inclusion into this system, we would have been free a long time ago. But we fighting so hard to be included. We trying to get in the house that they don't want you to live in. I want to live here in this house. So no, I can't trust this system because it's never proven itself to be trustworthy. Never proven itself to be trustworthy. Look at how our heroes, and whatever you want to call it, look at how our greats in any field, activism, because I know what y'all gonna say, oh, I don't care about these celebrities. It doesn't matter. Activism, politics, entertainment, sports, religion, look how targeted they are. Targeted. From Michael Jackson to Mike Tyson to Bill Cosby to whoever you can name, you can go down the line. And I'm not speaking in the terms of guilt and innocence. I'm not talking about guilt or innocence, because we know that some have been guilty. But what I'm talking about is equal justice under the law for all people. So if there's something that this brother was accused of and he's found to be guilty of it, and he gets body slammed in the courtroom with a sentence, but then the same thing happens with maybe a possibly not even an affluent white person, and somehow the sentence is not as harsh. And people say, well, man, that's money. That's money right there, man. No, it's not always money, because a lot of these celebrities got money. A lot of black celebrities got money, and the money didn't save them in all cases. And even if the money was used to help them avoid jail time, The civil suits chopped their head off through the civil suits. And the civil suits depleted their financial resources, and the civil suits and the case itself destroyed their public image. The civil suits destroyed their public image. Even in the minds of other black people, the civil suits, I mean, not the civil suit, the cases, that's what I mean to say. The cases destroyed their public images because we love to let the media remote control and program how we think in the way we view even our own people. So, and how can I prove that I'm right when I say that? The way I can prove I'm right when I say that, and some of y'all might not admit it, but just watching TV in this when a story breaks, the speculation of somebody doing something. Well, news just broke that such and such has been accused of sexually molesting, just allegedly. We go, oh man, this boy done raped this girl. No, they just said he's been accused. They said it's alleged. We automatically go to guilt. And we make the bigger mistake of starting to speak on it before we even know all the information. We go right on social media. You see it all down the timeline. Oh man, this boy, they finna up. Then you find out later he didn't even do it. So that's my proof that the media puts that out there. They throw that out there and we run with it. See? Y'all hit the like button if you haven't already, man. I'm explaining why I do not trust. You got 11 white jurors on the Ahmaud Arbery case. What do y'all think is going to happen? What do y'all think is going to happen in that situation? What is your first thought when you see that 11-1, when you see that ratio? What's your first thought? I don't care. Look, be honest. If you white, if you in this chat, what's your first thought when you hear that? See? When in a case where a man, in my view, I don't know how y'all can look at it any other kind of way, but you have the right to do that. A case where a man is completely innocent. There's nothing you can even argue that Ahmaud Arbery was doing wrong to be accosted like that and then eventually killed in the streets in cold blood like that. See? But we've seen this movie before. This ain't our first time seeing this. Get your big brother up to 100 likes, man. If you haven't hit, let's get to 100 likes for your big brother, man. Ron Blevin says the media is the government. That's a good way of looking at it. That's a good way of looking at it. He's going to get a slap on the wrist, or they are going to, because there's 3 men on trial. Remember that. Brazen said there's nothing we can do at this point. The Titanic is already sinking. We need to get people in the lifeboats. Well, that is something we can do. We can unify. We got to stop wasting time trying to reform something that can't be reformed. We always talking about changing the system. Well, we can change. You're not going to change the system because the mindset of the people who control the system is not going to change. You can't, and we're steady voting. We're steady going in that same circle. Well, let's vote for this one. Oh, he's acting like he likes black people. Let's vote for that one. Oh, he says if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Haha, that was funny. Let's vote for him. Bill Clinton was. He was the closest thing to a black person. He could play the saxophone. Let's vote for him. Hillary is his wife. She smiles and acts like she sits down and has conversations with black people and goes to the church and claps off beat. Let's vote for her. Bernie Sanders, boy, he really was that boy. He really seemed like he was, boy, man, we really wanted Bernie. Let's vote for him. But Bernie was against reparations. Look, if you're going to play the game and dance with these cats when they come along trying to swindle you out of your vote, they're not going to ever do anything for us. But if you just at least want to just see, you really like this guy, you really love this candidate, and it seems like, ask him about reparations and you'll get a good feel. What's your view on reparations? Uh-oh. See? That'll give you the feel, because I'm yet to see one of them say, well, yeah, I think that's something we need to do. Even if they don't do it, yeah, I think that's something that needs to be. We need to do that. I never heard the most humble and loving, in quotations. They haven't even said that. Even they go, whoa, wait a minute. What's the old white lady name who's always talking like she's defending black people and spouting all the black history? Does anybody know her name? Everybody, black folks love her. They love her. They love her to death. She gets on TV and talks about she lays out all of the history of racism and talks about how blacks have been done so wrong and blah, 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 blah. And the black people just go, whoo, they just adore her. What's that lady's name? Old white lady with the white hair. And what's that lady's name? Somebody please, if one of y'all got to know who this is I'm talking about, man. What's that lady's name, man? Jane Elliott. Appreciate that, Maresh. Jane Elliott. That's her name. They asked her about reparations. And Miss Wonderful Jane Elliott. Boy, she really loves black people, boy. We love Jane Elliott. Black folks love Jane Elliott. Boy, she understands, boy. Listen to Jane Elliott break it down, boy. She knows black history better than black folks just praising Jane Elliott. They asked her about reparations one time. Whoa. Jane wouldn't try to hear about no reparations now. That's a little hasty. See, gotta watch these cats and cadettes. Appreciate the love, Jonathan Finley. So nice he had to hit it twice. So nice he had to hit it twice. But that's my point. See, the black game is a hustle. It's a business. Jane Elliott is no different from these politicians who pimp black people for their votes. She ain't no different. She's no different from a politician that comes along and talks so good and yucks it up like she loves black people so much and she understands and she's for. She's no different. Trust me. That woman don't bit more love black people than I love chitlins. And I don't love chitlins. It's a business because she knew that all these black people was going to gravitate towards her. Little old lady who's spitting all this black history. See? She knows it. See, this is science. Appreciate the love, Jonathan. Thank you, man. This is it's see, the manipulation of our minds is a science, how they do it. And the greatness of the way they do it, what makes it so great, is dirty as it is. What makes it so great is they have mastered the ability to do the same things over and over and over again without fail. They do us the same way over and over again and duplicate it. And we never one time go, okay, wait a minute. You ain't gonna get me with that this time. We get got every time. So people will say, oh man, you just, you're race baiting. Man, that's a weak word that you made up. I don't even know what that is, race baiting. What benefit would any black person receive from race baiting? Appreciate that 100 like. What benefit would any black person receive from race baiting? This ain't our stuff. We talking about the system. We don't control this. How would that benefit us? Y'all been race baiting from day one through media. It's business to race bait, but not for us. See, the perception that we have about the judicial system that's set up in America, that's not a self-shaped perception by black people. America shaped black people's perception of America through its actions, through its injustice, through its inequality, through its racist laws. America shaped our perception. We sitting around, we trying to just live in peace. But the laws and the conditions that were established to keep us in that ignorant state, to keep us underfoot, to keep us under control, that's a science, man. That's a science. That's right. Race baiting is business. When they had the East Coast, West Coast beef in hip hop, somebody made money off of that. Somebody made money off the death and the killing and the diss tracks. That generated money because the media was able to put it out and advertise it and broadcast it, report on it, and let one side play against the other, one side play against the other. And it generated hype. It generated hype. It's like promoting a boxing match. 3 or 4 months, the boxers talking trash. They going back and forth in the media. It hypes the fight and it sells tickets. They do the same thing when the stakes are higher. See? So don't be surprised if Ahmaud Arbery's killers get off. Don't be surprised if they get a light sentence or they get some specially modified, some fly little sentence that's constructed in a way or where they won't end up doing a lot of time. Don't be surprised about that. Because we done seen this movie before. See? In this world, there's no justice. And where there's no justice, there's no peace. We heard the term no justice, no peace many times. Never be peace when a people are oppressed. And too many people will say, well, man, ain't nobody, it's 2021, ain't no black people being oppressed. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But the layers of the oppression are so deep that while we still see it on levels of outright blatant examples, that's not where it's really at. It's as it's said in the scripture, it's spiritual wickedness in high places. It's spiritual wickedness in high places. They are operating on a level that absolutely affects how we think and how we practice, how we operate on a daily basis. And they are controlling puppet strings that dictate how we move, whether we know it's being done to us or not. It's a science. Marty Marr say, when they are found guilty, I still wonder, do they really go to jail? That's a great question. See, and I don't get into a lot of the conspiracies, and I don't really get into a lot of I don't get into unfounded conspiracy things, but you still have to entertain any possible, nothing is off the table when it comes to those who control the system. When it comes to white supremacy, nothing is off the table. So you can say, well, man, people will say, well, what's the guy's name? I'm bad with names tonight. What's the guy's name who was cool with Donald Trump, and he was molesting all those women, and they put him in jail, and they say he committed suicide. What's the guy's name? Epstein. Thank you. My name game is trash tonight. So of course, people want to say, well, man, they say he committed suicide. He could actually be on an island somewhere, hidden away. I don't know that for a fact. But I won't, I don't put things like that past them. Because whatever Epstein was doing, whatever he was doing, he wasn't doing it by himself. So if he did hang himself, or if they killed him, then quite naturally the first thought is going to be, well, you know what? He was getting ready to tell on a lot of people. So rather than us allowing him to tell on a lot of people, because, man, let's be real, man. A lot of those Hollywood cats, those executives, and all the way down to some of the movie stars throughout the history of Hollywood, man, they some sick, perverted cats, man. I read about a man named Scotty Bowers. Scotty Bauer. And this man, back in the 50s and the 60s, all the way up to the 80s, he was I wouldn't say a pimp. He was like a male version of a madam. He was like a male version of a madam in Hollywood. And he operated a gas station that on the outside looking in was a gas station, but when you pulled up, it was like a brothel. But it was a brothel set up for Hollywood stars. So all of these top-notch Hollywood stars, all the biggest names of the day, from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, the top names, they would come through this gas station to get with Scotty Bauer, and he himself even claimed that he knocked off a lot of the celebrities, male and female. So he outed a lot of the male stars that were sex symbols and heartthrobs back in the days that all the women loved, but he outed them like, no, Scotty said he was banging them and the women. And this man lived to be 95 or 96 years old. He lived alone. He just died like 2 years ago. And he wrote a book where he mentioned all them cats that he slept with. He mentioned all of the female celebrities that he would hook up with other men and other women. So the point is, you don't really understand how deep this is with this industry. So Epstein is an example of he's in a bloodline, so to speak, of that type of action. But we kind of in a society now where they will get snatched up and outed, and even some of the white celebrities who were exploited by them when they were young, some of these young actresses, they're coming out and telling their stories now. So Epstein and Weinstein and all other Steins, they're getting snatched up now. It's a different day than when Scotty Bauer was doing his thing. So now, just to Marty's point, I don't put it past that they would be like, shh, we can't let this dude talk, because he's going to turn the game upside down if he starts talking. So they'll take one of their own out. They don't have a problem sacrificing one of their own to keep the game going. See? Appreciate you again, Jonathan. Gawain Davis says the machine is alive and well. Mr. Poop 123, if you knew gematria, shows you every single thing if you know how to solve the riddle from their birthday to event. Well, I don't got time to play around with gematria, man. I'd rather deal with revelation. See, because here's the deal, and maybe I'm green. Man, I can concoct any combination of numbers to make my narrative sound like this narrative lines up with this event. This numerical construct that I've put together lines up with this event. They were doing the same thing with the Travis Scott thing. Well, see how it was 8 streams of fire coming up. It was 8 this and 8 that. 8 people died. Now it's 9 people died. Now what y'all gonna say? So, I mean, we got to deal with what is, and I got to deal with what I believe to be the men of God have to say, and that's Minister Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I ain't knocking nobody else, but I got to go with what I've seen to be proven right every time. See? I don't know what y'all arguing about. I guess I didn't catch that part, so I can't elaborate on it. This system is not designed to give you justice. Black folks, brown folks, poor folks. They'll sacrifice some poor white people. Prison is money. Prisoners are money. Prisoners account for a large quantity of industrial resources and work. There are a lot of products that hit the world as a result of prison labor. Things that you would be surprised, like, man, these things were made in prison by prisoners. So there is a benefit to having people locked up. But you can't tell me that my people are just so evil and criminal. We are just so evil and criminal that even though we only make up a small percentage of the total population in this country, we make up half or more of the prison population. You can't tell me. I've been black all my life, man. I know black people. I know us. And while we got our faults, while there are some things that we messed up on, we're not that bad to where those numbers are disproportionate. You can't tell that lie to me. That is a designed setup. Scott Davison says, and trade stocks based on how successful a prison is, how fast they can fit it. Absolutely. We all know that prisons are on the stock market. We know that a black man to go to jail back in the days for having a little crack, you'll get 20, 25 years. And a white offender will go to prison or get probation for a lot of powder, or they'll be placed in a rehab facility as opposed to getting prison time. They will be placed in mental institutions for committing murders. Black children will be tried as adults more, percentage-wise, more than whites. Children are charged as adults. Man, why are you making this about black and white? I didn't. The system did. I'm just pointing it out. I'm pointing out the discrepancies. Nothing wrong with that. So we have to ask those questions. Why? Why? See? Centuries of abuse do not disappear overnight, Brother Merrick. Yeah, you're right. Centuries of abuse do not disappear overnight, especially when those who are carrying out the abuse are still in power, are still in place. It's not going to disappear at all. We should disappear and separate and establish our own nation and not waste so much time trying to fight for inclusion in a system that's never going to give us justice. We continue to trust those who have proven that they are untrustworthy. Continue to trust them. We trust them in politics. We trust them in religion. We trust them in the courtroom. Look at the judge. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on Kyle Rittenhouse, but look at the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, man. This dude He said out of his own mouth that there is the appearance of some intentional trickery going on. He didn't use the word trickery, but he said in terms of that jury being laid out how it was laid out. The judge said that it don't even look right, but he still allowed it. He still allowed that to be the case, even though he said something don't look right. And he has been overly accommodating to Kyle Rittenhouse. They're overly accommodating. Because at the root, they don't want to see their young men and women go to prison. And in a lot of cases, they agree with what he did. They agree with him coming down there armed, and police officers seeing him walking around strapped and not saying, "Hey man, what are you doing walking around with this weapon?" Police were like, "See? But let that have been a black man walking around with that weapon." I ain't got to say the rest. And Dusty Tate say Kyle Rittenhouse is the realist. Of course you think he's the realist. Of course you do. That's the thing. He's a hero. He's a hero to you. Dylan Roof is a hero. See? They're heroes. So I don't get caught up in that. I'm not surprised by that type of thinking. Of course you think those guys are heroes. Even when you know, or you may not know, but I feel like you know that their actions were unjustified. But that's the mindset. Why was $2 million raised for Dylan Roof's legal defense? Why would $2 million be raised for Dylan Roof's legal defense when he admitted? There's no speculation, there's no argument, there's no like disagreement. He said, I intentionally went into a black church and shot and killed 9 black people while eyes were closed praying after they humbly accepted me into their building. I did that. I wanted to do it. I don't feel bad about doing it. Why would $2 million be raised for him? Anybody want to answer that question? I'm waiting. Nope, voting is not the answer for black people. At least not on the national level. Why did that $2 million get raised for his defense when the people who donated the $2 million from it wasn't one person that just dropped a $2 million lick. That $2 million came from all directions, different people with a certain mindset that they was glad he killed those black people. And now we want to raise as much money as we can to get him off, possibly. Because he's a hero. He's a hero because he killed 9 innocent black people who welcomed him in. He did a good thing in their eyes. My point is, it's a lot of white people that think like that. See? So if you say, okay, well, we're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, what did Kyle Rittenhouse do? And I ain't gonna stay on this long. What did he do that was necessary for him to do? Was that actually a need keep the word need in your mind. Was there actually a need for him and his mother to drive from another city to come down and do what he claimed, what he turned to be, to help out? Help out who? Why did they need him? Then they say, well, it was self-defense. Why were you there? Why was he there? Answer that. They didn't need him. So everybody praising Kyle Rittenhouse. Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse, he defended himself. If he would have stayed home, he wouldn't be in this situation. Why'd you bring the weapon? What are you coming to help out with a weapon? Answer that question. Y'all on there talking about 9/11. Well, here we go with these numbers, man. See? ZK594, y'all just hate it because he's white. If he was black, I guarantee you your tone would be different. I see through you. I don't know the context of your statement. Hate what? Hate what? Because he's white. If he was black, he'd be dead. If you're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, if it was Keandre Rittenhouse instead of Kyle, if it was Keandre Rittenhouse, he'd be dead because he wouldn't be allowed to show up walking down the street with a weapon and the police saw him. As soon as the police saw him, he'd be dead or snatched up. So they know if he was black, I guarantee you. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess my tone would be different. Because too many black people who were not armed, who were standing up for the right cause, got beat up or killed or pulled over and killed for no reason. So, but this all ties into why I don't trust the system. Because individuals who back this system, shout out to Jonathan Finley, man, salute to you. Individuals who back this system, see, that's where the questioning comes in. That's where the question lies, because when I see white people who back those kind of actions, now I got to do this to you. Okay. Because nobody can tell me why it was necessary. Nobody can tell me why it was necessary for him to even be there. But anyway, we're going to move on because, hey, we're going to move on. I'm not speaking on that no more. It's time for us to get out, man. It's time for us to separate from this system. I know a lot of black folks don't like to hear that because it just seems like that's not a smart thing to do. It's a smart thing to continue on in the same framework, in the same fashion that we've been going on for centuries and decades. Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican. Is it the same? Is it sane to keep continuing on in that fashion? See? It's a racial double standard that takes place in this country that is so clear that a blind man could see it with his eyes closed. Lamont Gould says, this topic is nothing new. Change comes with action. Talk is cheap. Satan is in charge, and can't be defeated without Christ. Good night. Wise words spoken. This topic is nothing new. You're right, Lamont. Change does come with action. You're right. Talk is cheap. You're right. But Satan ain't in charge. You was wrong on that one. Satan was given a time, and his time is up. God is in control, bro. So you almost got it right. You almost went 4 for 4. You missed that last free throw at the end. But you cleaned it up. You said and can't be defeated without Christ. Okay. Kevin said Ray Charles seen it. The Republican and Democrat, 2 pillars holding up an illusion of choice. Well said, Scott. Pimp Maurice White. R.I.P. to the legend Maurice White. Yeah. Blessings to y'all, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all up all night, but I want to urge y'all to not be fooled by any smiling faces, any serpent smiling, whispering lies to y'all like back in the days when the dude tried to run game on a female and he telling her them lies to get what he want. That's how they do us. Don't be fooled by that, man. Don't be fooled by that. Unify. Come together. Work together. Build businesses together. Establish power together. Establish political power on local levels together. Work to fight against crime and poverty in our own neighborhoods together, because the government is not going to do it for us. The government wants us to continue shooting and killing each other. The government wants us to continue to sell drugs to each other, because if they didn't want us to sell drugs to each other, they wouldn't supply the neighborhood with drugs. They didn't want us to keep killing each other. They wouldn't supply the neighborhood with guns. Find my lie. So we have to understand the setup and not fall for it, and work to build our families and make our families stronger so our children won't get caught up in it, because they are the target. Our young people are the target, which is why another reason we should never trust this system, because it's absolutely geared in targeting our young people. They're the ones coming up. They're the ones being looked at going, okay, it's 20 of them in a classroom. This is the prison system. No, it's 20 of them. We'll get about 5 of them. I'm certain we'll get 5 out that 20. Okay, it's 40 of them over there. We'll get about 10 of them 40. We're going to get them. Don't let your children be part of that group that gets swept up in that wave. Mental health gets ignored when it comes to Black people in the court systems, but it doesn't get ignored all the time when it comes to white defendants. Well, we're going to put him in a mental institution. He killed 16 people. See, there's so many levels of hypocrisy that are blatant. So many examples. So many examples of discrimination. Before I go, man, y'all tell me where y'all from, man. Drop your locations for your big brother. I forgot to do that. Drop your locations. Drop your locations. Because I love knowing where my folks are from. And I appreciate all of y'all who participated in this. Whether we agreed or disagreed, I appreciate the respectful dialogue. And you know, y'all are welcome to think about it the way y'all think about it. Drop your locations, man. Once again, I love to see this because as these cities and states scroll, it shows me the diversity. I saw my homie Miami, Florida on here earlier. Cali, Dallas, Vegas. Kevin say 288. Temple, Texas, Alabama. Appreciate that, Pete Trelo. Appreciate you, Odiazo. Diaz, I think. Cali, Houston. Double. What's double? South Houston. Macedonia. Hazelhurst. Mississippi, yeah. Pensacola, Florida. Dallas, Texas. Joe Jones. Triple J. My brother. Nashville, San Antonio. Yeah, man, you know, that's another topic for another time. Houston, straight out of Missouri. Shawnee B Me TV right here in the H. Tech, Arkansas, South Africa, Cape Town. Salute to Cape Town. Man, see, all over the world, man. All over the country, all over the world. One love to y'all, man. Y'all be easy, man. If you haven't got my new album, go get it. Gotta plug my stuff, man. Y'all don't have this album yet, man. Don't be talking about you a K-Rino fan and you ain't got my latest album. Go to southparkcoalition.net right now and purchase this CD. Or I know some people don't mess with CDs no more. I understand we're in a digital age. Go on all of the digital sites. I ain't gonna name them off. Just you know where to go find it. If you get your music through digital means, you can go get it right now, or you can order the physical CD. Check your big brother out. All right, man. It's your big brother K-Rino. Number love, man. I hope we educated each other. Catch y'all later. Peace.